Why? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you know, we live stream. This is just a different.
Yeah, I know, but this is like, I don't know, like, what are you doing with this, like, graphic collection?
I put it in on my tree. I paid this guy in my own pocket.
What money? With what money?
Someone loaned me $400. How much am I paying? $300 to do like this video. Like, so like, I mean, I'm not a rich person, and yet the money I do have,
I would ask for solidarity first of all, because we don't do wars and solidarities like should be funded. So I would like for solidarity.
But then I wouldn't want to get a response to you when I say, well, this is on Facebook or like on Philippines.
But that's not in your it's not in your proposal.
I quantify it. I say, well,
this can go as a Twitter shout out to me or somebody's purchase capacity or just the past like
the proposal. Just I don't know how we would phrase it. But like then if the proposal passed, I'd ask them like, so the phrasing isn't an endorsement, but like that. Yeah, guys, it's part of like the Occupy community here. Well, we support
already.
Yeah, I think that if you ask for solidarity, like that will all be implicit. And like
$1,888.
We know that.
right. I don't know, it's funny, you're like, I feel like you're like framing this from a place of like antagonism perhaps.
I try not to.
No, but like I feel like your intentions are antagonistic, is that possible?
It is to try to like...
Yeah, it's to try to expose something.
Not to expose it, but like to try to like have a discussion that people wonder about, like when people like fundraise autonomously, how would that happen? And that's why.
Right. So like what you're trying to do is like here's this can of worms sitting on the table, and you're like, okay, open this, and let the worms just start like.
How you doing?
Doing good. Cold, man.
It's pretty cold out here.
It's gonna be a cold day. Ready to get started?
Yes.
I'm gonna keep that diamond in my mind.
Anarchists go beyond protest. They actually call for direct action.
I'm gonna keep that diamond in my mind.
Beyond that, because they actually criticize the capitalist system.
There's hell upon the breeze.
Deeper conversation would be,
There's hell upon the breeze. 6 riders ride.
this is the nature of the system, that it creates scarcity. And we have an economy based on resource scarcity.
They say I must be the devil's child.
Because you can't just engage everyone on the street without having a discussion.
They say I must be the devil's child.
A deep ecology of thought in a movement. So,
Hell upon the breeze.
Must be some kind of
Hell upon the breeze.
organization
6 riders ride.
well, it could happen organically. It doesn't have to be down to some people are imagining alternatives to power structures and to society. And that's when we're going to get real change.
In all my days I've been a losing.
All of these ideas coming out, and then the intermix between those.
All my days I've been a losing.
And that's what creates actual change in a society.
And hell upon the breeze.
Propaganda or ideas or whatever
And
you want to call
hell
it.
upon the breeze. Love it ain't mine.
And anarchists don't really believe in leaders or like a vanguardism, whereas like socialists, communists, even like representative democracy, they want you to invest your power in an authority who's going to do good by you.
I killed my daddy and took his 40.
But the very basic anarchist principle, the etymology of the term, is
I killed my daddy and took his 40.
and against and then argue his rulers.
He was no good. He was no good. He had to die.
So they're not supposed to be any rulers. So all an anarchist can really do is just try to educate you, to empower you to do for yourself. And so the most important thing for an anarchist is education. Whereas a lot of like other political beliefs, they want your support, they want your vote, they want you to stand in line with them. They think that they have the solution.
Lightning hits the church, the women cry.
There's a lot of humility in this.
Lightning hits the church, the women cry.
It's against anarchy to tell someone what the solution is.
Upon the breeze, and nail upon the breeze, no God inside.
So you stop yourself. You have like that firewall against trying to impose your view upon others.
It's interesting.
And so it's more of a way of thinking, and that's why most anarchist organizations are only anarchist in tactics, the consensus direct democracy.
6 riders stand upon the ridge tonight.
How anarchists have traditionally organized.
6 riders stand upon the ridge tonight.
But then they run the whole spectrum. There's like primitivists, there's green anarchists, there's little a anarchists, there's big tent anarchists, there's like violent anarchists, there's anarchists who believe in like capitalist anarchists that you try to make money, all sorts of stuff. But it's basically like the tools of like don't have leadership, you believe in mutual aid, you believe in direct action, you don't protest. And so you'll see when we have the info shop is that you just set up a table, and a lot of the zines, we have over 500 zines.
Wait, should I look past?
We just hand them out, and they're all free.
Well, look into the camera.
Okay. So
No, look past me.
past.
Look past me now.
Oh, past you.
I think looking into the camera is probably best.
Yeah. Okay.
You could basically go between like my eyes and the camera.
Oh, okay.
Probably.
Like this right here.
Yeah, we could try that. You could try like going between, like whatever feels comfortable. Maybe going between my eyes and the camera.
Okay. So let's see. Works I read by Studs Terkel and other oral historians who they don't put in that much commentary. They just try to let people reveal the stories themselves. And so I thought the greatest way to promote that is doing a day in the life of an organizer in Occupy Wall Street. So just go through the day and talk to people or document what's going on and let those stories be shown.
People need to hear that.
Yeah, definitely.
People need like a simple explanation of
Exactly.
what's going on.
Yeah, something that you can sort of just answer the question, well, what are you guys doing? How did this start? Where are you at right now? And where do you think you're going? Maybe not demands. A lot of people ask for that. But at least identity or values. Well, what do you guys at least stand for? Or what are you even doing? I'm sure that's just what most people, I mean, for yourself on the outside, you know? Like, what is it all about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Might be cool to have you there, like on the chairs, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So the merchant.
Yeah, it's really good shit. I mean, like, it's just Shakespeare takes a little bit of appreciation. Like, you need to. It's like translation, you know. But once you translate it and you have, it's sort of like poetry. Or like playing music, any sort of art. Once you have a little bit of a footing where you understand it and you make it your own,
Yeah.
then you just open up a whole new world. Like, then you can really, and that's the thing is, you don't want other people to interpret it for you. You want them to explain it to you enough that you can then apply your own interpretations.
Have you been saying anything to the camera?
Oh, is it running right now?
Yeah, it's rolling.
Yeah, I'm just looking through this, but it's okay. I'll use this. Gets a merchant, or gets a trader in a bad position. He also accepts a pound of flesh instead of the bond. So now he's demanding that the guy give him a pound of flesh. Would have my bond. He's very principled. He's like, I want the bond, the fulfillment of the obligation. Letter of the law, not the spirit of the law. And I think that it perfectly illustrates some arguments I get in with people in Occupy Wall Street. He's turned me away from churches. He's turned a pregnant woman away from a church that we are housing people at because he's like, she's not on the list. We need more human structures and more human, maybe we don't even need institutions, but we need more humanity and compassion. That's what the artist does, is like brings in the humanity and says, well, there's rules and there's logic and there's rhetoric and then there's compassion, and they're asking him to be compassionate, and in the end he is. People before process is what I tell people. Is like when you come to a point where you have a person on one side and you have process on the other side, I would imagine you always want to break the process for the sake of the person, and a lot of people don't do that, and that's when you start to objectify people, because that's when you come up with an excuse to not see the person, and you have your rule, your regulation, you blame the victim, you say, well, they should have known better, they shouldn't have done, put themselves in that position, all these different reasons to not be compassionate, as we live in what seems to be an uncaring world, where we don't really care about people. Wall Street and the society out there has a monopoly on all the smartest people, all the most rational people, all the intelligentsia, all the most complicated systems. We're not going to fight that with smarter, more efficient systems. They have efficiency in society. We're bringing to the table the consensus process, people governing themselves, people actually listening to each other and joining each other in self-governance. C.T. Butler's book, he talks about that. You're supposed to check the ego at the door. This is a model that we started following in Occupy Wall Street. We don't train up to it enough. You can actually have complexity built upon direct democracy, which completely challenges our representative democracy. You have a democratic deficit. Local municipalities, cities, well, our whole political structure, it doesn't seem like we have a voice in it. Corporations are drowning us out, and it seems like things aren't working. It's an anarchist idea. If you create a model which delegitimizes power structures and embodies your alternative, your values, that's what I'm starting to view this Occupy theory as being all about. Come together in a public place and have a discussion in a direct, democratic fashion. Out of that, we built complexity where we're talking about actions, we're talking about protests and stuff. What we were doing was very simple. We have to go back and really spend a lot of time and energy working on those communication tools that we started off with. I think art holds up a mirror. If we are replicating these power structures and bringing this baggage from the old, ugly society into this new space that we're creating, this opportunity we've given ourselves to have this discussion, we can recognize it and we can start working on it. This is a conversation that's been going on throughout history. The Merchant of Venice, I summarize it as objectification. You don't see that person, you don't see that other individual who deserves human rights and dignity, and you just see like an object, you see lumber instead of trees, you see meat instead of animals, a racial epithet instead of a person, like anti-Semitism, anti-Arabism, anti-communism, anti-whatever. And the counter to that would be love, more loving relationships. This whole Occupy movement was about creating alternative ways to communicate, or healthier communication patterns in society at the very basic social level. Upon that, we can maybe build complexity of actions and everything, but if we forget that little kernel, then everything it seems like that you're doing built up upon that is going to be useless, because these power structures are built upon a different type of relationship. You're vesting representatives, representative democracy. You're vesting the owners of capital. You're not really questioning the power structures of your economy. And you're vesting organizers of the movement, because the movement has lost its direct democratic push. If the means aren't in alignment with the ends, then you're just going to mirror power structures. You're just replicating the society you're criticizing. How do you not create a movement of bureaucracy and elitism? That's the most important question we should be talking about. That's a discussion we should be having. And that's a void that we're stepping into here.
Black rain, don't fall on me. Can't you see I'm doing my best? Black rain, don't fall on me when I lay to take my rest. And love, it don't die, it just goes from girl to girl, town to town, rose to rose, all around the world, like a ghost upon a breeze in a land of elegies. Black rain, don't catch me low and cover the sinner's sun. Black rain, where can I go when you leave me nowhere to run? that don't die, it just goes from girl to girl, town to town, rose to rose, all around the world, like a ghost upon a breeze in a land of elegies.
Avoid certain obvious things, and find systems, and kind of make sure that they function more smoothly.
The big thing for you recently was like the budget, trying to pass like the budget that would like get us on a monthly like budget, so we know what our operating costs are.
Yeah, it was like, but there were definitely speed bumps in the way, and there's places where the system is pretty much speed bumps. Transparency is about accountability and recallability. Like, oh no, stipends, and people are going to get paid for occupation. Well, you have privilege when you can think about, working 20 to 40 hours a week and not getting anything back for it. And it's kind of funny because it's like inequality, income inequality. It's all about money coming in or resources coming in that people aren't getting the benefits of. And then you turn around and you're like, nobody could get paid for all this stuff. They have to do it for free or whatever. To me, that just seems like a very privileged mindset. Sort of a 1%er type attitude. The dirty occupiers coming up to our office and stuff like that from people. Like, it's like, okay, consistent attitude.
What we were just talking
East
about,
New York.
Occupy Wall Street doesn't really have an identity because we're not organized in the financial district. It's a misnomer. Since that everyone else is occupying Baltimore or Los Angeles, we're not addressing the concerns of this local community. Like tapping into local, what's going on the ground and stuff.
This is a bank space.
Yeah, this right here.
Yeah, this is a bank space. This is the extra space from Amalgamated. So, we're already here.
Okay.
That's a proposal.
You can take video. Well, then you can take it.
This recording device. Is everybody okay with being recorded at this meeting? And I get a temp check.
All right, so this is the General Assembly, and we will be starting.
Let's switch into
We will be starting the General Assembly with the community agreements. Conflict resolution, nonviolence towards each other, direct democracy. We support the empowerment of each person to challenge the histories and structures of oppression that marginalize some and divide us all. These may include ableism, ageism, classism, heterosexism, racism, religious discrimination, sexism, transphobia, xenophobia, and among others.
So before we get started, can we get consensus on this, Mark and myself, as your facilitation team for this evening? Great. We've officially begun. Trying to hurry up here.
Hey you guys.
I have 20 minutes.
Do like 5 or 10. It's not. So my name is Shaz, and I've been organizing here since like November. And, started the Occupy Farms working group. Worked out the Occupy office. Worked in Occupy the archives, Occupy Wall Street archives. I'm doing a Kickstarter campaign to fund writing this book, or maybe even at the very least, the passage of this proposal saying that solidarity with Shaz and writing this book. The issues I'd be discussing was ideological discussion versus anarchist, non-anarchist tactics, violence versus non-violence, privilege versus non-privilege. Like, people are struggling to have enough money to stay involved in this movement, because I notice when I just present my opinion, sometimes I tend to stick my foot in my mouth. They're open to discussion on how the community would support a project like that. Someone trying to write a book from within the community.
Reform and write, all you need is pen and paper, and then bring it here and people support you.
I would basically just be asking for the Occupy community not to endorse what I say because I can't speak for you guys, but endorse the idea of the project. I stood in solidarity with you guys at one point. So.
There are new websites that are coming out that you can plug into if you'd like to write content as an occupier and with Occupy Wall Street. They're OccupyWallStreet.net and TheDailyOccupier.net. Another point of information, the Statement of Autonomy. It says, speak with us, not for us. That said, my concerns are many and they are blocking concern. You have, as an individual, proposals you've made in the past, conduct with working groups, conduct with accounting working groups, with the way that you describe what you'd like to write about in this book, violence versus non-violence. I think that's an incredibly problematic juxtaposition that you make, and I would really, really seriously be offended if you were to write something about violence and non-violence. And I don't want that dichotomy anywhere near by Wall Street. I have serious concerns that you don't understand autonomy.
Next on Saturday, Sean. Again,
You almost got arrested. Does he want to address?
How about his response?
Oh, sorry, he does have the right to speak.
You'll respond to his first response.
I think we'll continue the discussion.
We were raised by wolves, and we are still wild, and we howl when the troubled wind blows. And in the TV's blue light, assassins will lie everywhere, just a going down slow. So don't tread on me, for I am your brother. I was born with an American heart. And don't tread on her, for she is your sister. She was born with an American heart. And all the people you meet down in the streets may be good, but they don't wanna know. So they cover their eyes for who wants to be sad. Life is sweet at the bottom of the sea. And don't tread on me, for I am your brother. I was born with an American heart. And don't tread on her, for she is your sister. She was born with an American heart. And the mothers will cry, fathers stay up all night with a worry that goes to the bones. And if your God makes war, then he's no God I know, 'cause Christ would not send boys to die. And don't tread on me, for I am your brother. I was born with an American heart. And don't tread on her, for she is your sister. She was born with an American heart. And don't you get low as hell when the peace dove is filled by men with the blackest of minds. And above the din, let the sighing begin, as we're bound for the longest of days. So don't tread on me, for I am your brother. I was born with an American heart. And don't tread on her, for she is your sister. She was born with an American heart.
Oh, okay. Let's hug.
Now let it go.
Let me hug.
Oh, on the heart.
That's right, on the heart. There you go. All right.
You're a good man, Brian.